Hello everyone and welcome to the VRRC One Make Cup BMW 235i series. My name is Daniel Handover and joining me in the commentary box as always is the wonderful and fantastic Mr. Dave Marshall. Dave, how are you doing this evening? I think we may have lost Dave. I'm sure he'll be back in but a few moments' time. But yes, 235i's rear-wheel drive series this time. Obviously, the BMWs. To be fair, absolutely fantastic cars, and we're going to see some great racing indeed. I am sure, and I believe, Dave, we are actually here. Dave, can you hear me?
I can indeed, Dan. What a night this is, eh? 2 Series round Croft, my local track. First time I believe we've been here in a sort of relatively small series with you commentating, I believe, as well. So, yeah, really excited to sort of come home a bit, really.
Well, to be fair, like I said, Croft, this is an interesting track for me because it's one of the ones I've watched previously in touring cars, have never commentated on it. Obviously, this is going to be a new one for me. But so, obviously, Dave, you know this track much more than I do. So, talk us through a little bit of the potential issues and potential things that drivers have got to watch out for, because for the limited knowledge that I do have of this track, there are some interesting corners, to say the least.
Yeah, there is definitely. I think it's regarded a bit like Thruxton regards on the racing circuit. You know, it's one of the faster tracks, and you don't really get a chance around this track to actually really turn off. If there's any sort of point, the start-finish line, and after the first chicane, you know, you've got a gap where you can have a bit of a chill, but you know, the back Jim Clark S's, and especially into sunny in, sunny out, it's one of them track. It just requires a bit of kahunas, really.
I think that's the best way to put it. There, to be fair. It's going to be something. I think these cars are actually probably going to be very, very a track like Croft. You've got a lot of sort of like sweeping fast sections. You've got the Jim Clark S's. You've got sort of Tower Corner, which is actually one of the corners that we were touching on. A little bit more tricky than you first think. When you look at it from a track map, you naturally think it's just a standard right-hander. But then when you look at it actually a bit more in depth when we actually drive it, it's a little bit more tricky than that. But as we see, Lawrence Davey there straight away. Great thing about these cars, which is something that we're going to be, I just cannot wait to commentate on there. It's just, these cars are so hilarious. About 350 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, no traction. And I believe, actually, to be fair, these cars do have ABS, but traction control is off or limited.
So it's a limited traction control, so it does let your car get a little bit of slip, but it'll like to grab it if it's going a little bit too far, or you can just turn it off. We might see possibly drivers using adaptive traction control, where it's literally on a flick of a button on the wheel. And, through these parts here, your traction control running it off can just help the car have a little bit of rotation. If you turn it on for the last corner on the hairpin, it can have its advantage of then gripping up. So, it's for me, it's a bit of a case of it's probably got its advantages to hook it onto a button. As we see, I believe that's Lawrence Davey having a massive spin there. So he's obviously got traction control turned off. But yeah, these cars are, as we see there, a bit of a handful, Dan.
I think that's definitely the way to put it, isn't it? But Lawrence Davey running the traditional BMW motorsport colours there, the red, white, and blue on his car, or the two shades of blue, I should say. But the traditional classic BMW motorsport colours that they have been running with for as long as I can remember, ever since I've been interested in cars, and have been around, to be fair. Lawrence Davey does start his first lap. Times are on the board, although they do not reflect the lap times that people have actually done. Because you've got Edmondson currently with those top standings, but we're going to see these times drop down. Lawrence Davies actually got a bit of damage there. He goes very, very wide on the exit of turn one. His front end has seen better days. But one of the things actually I was going to ask, Dave, obviously you've driven these cars, you do a lot of the prep, do a lot of the shakedown before the championships, before the series are released. What are some things, or what's the characteristics of these cars to like to drive, the race car versions of what are pretty much, it probably shares, I can imagine, quite a lot of similarities to its road car counterparts? Yeah,
so I don't know whether we can see it there, but as Simon Reed came through Tower Bend there, the cars are extremely stiff. So it means that, for all the car is extremely stiff, the dampers are actually relatively soft to try and get a bit of compliancy from the chassis. It's very easy for these cars just to be overly stiff, if you like. You hit any of them bumps, they're very loosely based from a VLN car, these cars. So, they're one of them cars where they like to rotate on throttle, as we've seen already, but they're not that much different, really, from just sort of a road car with a cage, some very good spec dampers in it, and a good set of brakes on it as well.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people. I mean, you can see the interior shot here. Just was on board just now with Max Edmondson. That interior shot. You look at all the dash. Look at all the dash there as well. It's pretty much the standard thing you get with the road car. Obviously, all the air conditioners taken out and all of that sort of stuff. Even the wheel itself. Now that is looking at what you've got there. That's actually a BMW standard wheels. Max Edmondson goes for a bit of a moment, manages to keep it all in check, but off he goes. Yeah, that's actually a standard BMW wheel as well. So as you were saying, Dave, a lot of this car is very much just a stripped out race version of the VLN car, which is very much shares a lot of its components with the road car. But one benefit of that, it keeps cost down. I mean, comparatively to motor racing, it does keep costs down.
That's exactly what it's for. The VLN classic car, or these 235i's, because they share that many components. Yeah, it is a very big jump from sort of your entry club spec racing. These are very expensive, very nice cars to race. But in the grand scheme of things, to get on that ladder of GT racing, these are probably on that bottom, sort of just below GT4 spec. And there is, as you say, a lot of components that are very similar to the real car. In fact, I was actually at Croft maybe 3 weeks ago, Dan, for the Mini Cooper test. And actually, there was a BMW VLN car there testing. And I think it was on, I don't know whether you will watch this, but on his second lap or so, he actually binned it. So these cars are really quite hard to drive around this track. And, you're watching it in real life, and there's a few pointers you take and you go and compare it to the sim. And the thing that I really took away from in real life was how stiff the cars were. And, the hop and bounce, as we're seeing here into turn one, and the car never really looks that settled. So it is a trait of the real car, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be To be fair, having been in sort of own one of these cars in real life or the same sort of chassis that it's based on, yeah, it can be a little bit sketchy. If you're not careful, you get over a bump a little bit wrong, and the car's like hopping about all over the place. It's I can imagine, obviously, when you put some stiff dampers in, it's even more worse. You see it there off of the curb as well, like Dan Zillis's car, just bouncing over the place. Simon Reed again going through. You see the hop and the skipping that the car's doing. Interesting cars. Drivers are going to have to watch out, especially when they're racing, trying to get on the power down as soon as they can. These cars, they really want to swap ends on you. So it's really just who can keep the car in check at the moment. Great camera angle there as they're going through. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, again, you know this track a lot better than I do. That was Barcroft, I believe, going into sunny in and sunny out.
Yeah, Barcroft into sunny in, sunny out, and yeah, a bit of an infamous corner for me. I remember in a Ginetta trying to take Barcroft flat before sunny in, and it turns out I think I just outbraked myself and had to use the escape road. But yeah, it's one of them corners where you've got to get on the right line coming in, and it is flat before you hit the brakes into sunny in if you're on the right line. If you're remotely on the wrong line and you try and commit to going flat through there, and you end up just nudging the grass on the way to sunny in, it is an awful, awful feeling because the car then just wants to go straight into the barriers. But you know, it's crucial that you get Barcroft right into sunny in, and you want to take quite a late apex to sunny in to make then sunny in and sunny out all as one long curve rather than taking it as sort of like two corners. So there's big time to be made up in that apex for sure.
Interesting stuff. Interesting. We're going to see how that materializes. But look at that. Robbie Stapleford, the man on pole position at the moment by 0.2 of a second, with Jordan Brennan in second place. Max Edmondson down in third. As we can see, he is currently the man that's on main focus of the stream. Bit of housekeeping, though, before we get ahead. So Ryan Brown saying good luck to my man Dizzy. I'm trying to think who Dizzy would be. Dave,
James Haskell. Yeah.
James Haskell,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye out for James.
I don't know the reference to the name, but I do know he's a guitarist. So I don't know whether it's any reference to Dizzy Rascal. I'm sure we're going to get a few comments of what that might be referring to. But yeah, he sat there down in 8th. I know he's relatively new to the PC Assetto Corsa aspect of the game. I believe he used to play Xbox. As I say that, he's just jumped in there in 6th place with a 1:29.0. So he's obviously not that far off the pace, Dan, at all. So definitely a contender for up near that podium spot.
Well, potentially we're going to have to see how that goes. Like I said, 1.3 seconds at the moment is the gap. Bit of a jump from Haskell to Zelos, but I'm sure the more confidence that Haskell will get, he will climb.
I must point out there, Dan, just as I witnessed that, Max Edmondson there through the chicane, did you see how close he got to that tyre stat on the left-hand side? That was like wafer thin through that chicane. Pinpoint accuracy. But obviously, that's what you need to do to get near these times near the top of the board.
Yes, yeah, 100%. To be honest, being completely candid, I didn't actually watch that. I was looking at the timing tower, so I'll have to see how Max Emerson, but he obviously knows the width of his car then, by the sounds of it, as he goes into sunny in, and suddenly sunny out, goes a little bit sideways through sunny out, but goes through there nevertheless. That's definitely not the quickest way around. It's definitely a fun way to go around, but not the quickest.
Yeah, so that on screen there was exactly what I was on about. You want to go into sunny in, run it nice and wide, not quite as wide as what we saw Max do it there, and link it into the next corner, meaning it's only one steering input and the car isn't starting to have a different weight transfer.
Right, gotcha. Yeah. So you want to upset. Oh, we get Max Emerson getting a little bit out of sorts, but he jumps into the pits, I'm sure, for a fresh set of tyres. Here is Mr. James Haskell. 1:29 is the time on the board for Mr. Haskell at this moment in time. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. So yeah, 1:29.2 was his last lap. On board now with Simon Reed as he comes out of the last corner, the applicantly named Hairpin, which is a pretty ingenious name, I think. There, to be fair,
yeah,
it does what it says on the tin.
It's a northern track. Why not just call it what it is?
Exactly. It's like Ron Seal, isn't it? Remember the old Ron Seal adverts?
Does what it says on the tin. Exactly.
But yeah, Simon Reed getting possibly a little bit careful, especially in a racing scenario. It's consistency rather than outright pace that we have seen countless times. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, so you can afford to sort of, luckily it's not real life and the damage doesn't carry on from quality to race. So you can afford to take them there we go. Simon Reed's done exactly what I was on about Barcroft, running slightly wide, clipping the grass, and then that forces you straight, go towards sunny in. Perfect demonstration of what I was on about earlier, Simon. Champ me for that. Yeah, so as I was saying, I can't remember what I was saying. What was I talking about, Dan?
I think it will come back to you in a second.
He just caught us well off guard there. That was exactly what I was on about, though.
It's yes, I think to be fair, like looking at the. Do you know what? I've had a complete mind blank as well. I think it'll move on. It will come back to us. I'm just looking. Actually, one thing I'm interested to know is, or one thing I'm interested to see is top 5 separated 7/10 of a second. Now, I don't know. That 7/10 of a second sounds like a relatively large gap. But I suppose in the grand scheme of things, like when they're racing each other, and we have seen this before, haven't we? Actually, it's just reminded me. I was talking. I think the last point I remember was it's a marathon, not a sprint. I don't know if that jogged your memory, Dave.
Oh, it does indeed. It perfectly jogs my memory, actually. Yeah. So what I was going to say is because the damage doesn't carry forward from quali to a race, where you have to then, obviously, if you crashed it in qualifying in real life, you're frantically trying to repair the car in order to get out on the grid. With quali on a simulator, luckily we jump back to the pits. Your car is reset and it's fresh for the race. So my point was, in qualifying, we're seeing drivers that's maybe taking more risk than they necessarily would in the race itself. Getting that close to tyre barriers, trying to get any sort of 10th of a second there, and that's crucial to try and get that little bit more time out of it to crawl up the grid. In the race, I'll be really quite surprised if they're taking that sort of risk. You see Jordan Brennan there actually tactically going very, very wide in the hairpin, trying to get it straight to get the maximum run. That just shows you how he's trying to find every last 10th in the track, Dan.
Yeah, and to be fair, Jordan Brennan, he needs 2/10. That could very well be at least a 10th of those 2/10 he needs. So he could be halfway there, even with just that small little moment. Again, all bit sideways, but he keeps it all in check just about. Does Jordan Brennan, again very close to the tyre barriers. I think actually as well, a little bit of slip in these cars, I don't necessarily think it's the slowest way to drive them. You almost want a little bit of the car like pitching on the rear and rotating on the rear. Like you're saying, it rotates on throttle. Yeah. You almost want to use that to your advantage. So I don't necessarily think as Jordan Brennan goes very wide out of tower. I think maybe driving these cars with a little bit of slip is probably the quickest way to drive them.
Yeah, it is for me if you've got traction control off. If you've got that traction on, that computer is going, you're going sideways and I don't really want to be sideways, and it'll try and lock that rear wheel just to try and keep it in check or give you a power cut. So it is with traction off. If these drivers have got traction on, if it starts to go sideways, you're probably going to lose power. So realistically, it's either you drive it super clean and tidy with traction off and get early on that throttle to drive it out, or you turn traction off and drive it in that balance point, as you say, Dan, between understeer and oversteer, and that's when you're going to get the most out of this car.
Exactly. While we're going to the final stages of qualifying, just want to quick, there's some prizes on offer as well, I believe, for this One Make series. Is there not, Dave?
There is indeed. On screen, brought to you there by Mike Yao, who's doing the stream, an excellent job. So you can see it's 4 rounds, and basically the winner of the championship will be getting £100 cash, 75 per second, your full entry fee paid back if you're in 3rd place. So great prizes, not product this time, just cash in your bank, and I think everyone will be grateful for a little bit extra funds in the bank account during these times.
Well, exactly. I mean, like I said, there's something to go with it. There's something at in that top 3. There's an incentive for everyone as well, which is good fun. But yeah, Robbie Stapleton, Max Edmondson, we've just seen has had a bit of a moment. We can see on the timing tower, and we're seeing it on the live timing as well. So not too sure what's happened to him. So he might not have one more lap to do. But Robbie Stapleton, look at that. He is on pole position. He's actually gone another bit. A little bit faster as well. So Robbie Stapleton now with a 27.486, just over 0.2 of a second ahead of Jordan Brennan. But that is it. Qualifying is done and dusted. Dan Zelos, James Haskell, and that is Simon Reed have already all crossed the line. But what can Robbie Stapleton do? He is already in pole position. 0.2 of a second, though, goes a little bit carries a bit too much pace going through Sunny in, and subsequently takes too much pace and Sunny out, becoming a bit of a rally cross 235i there. But manages to keep it all in check just about. That is unfortunately his lap completely gone. Look at that, half a second down on the timing, as you can see here in the bottom right corner of your screen. Can he salvage anything though? Can you find a bit more pace? Even though qualifying lap is done, you've still got some time to be had. There's something to be done, but he decides against it and drives in the pits. So, yeah, no one can touch Mr. Stapleford, who is at the top of the timing tower. And that is it. That is your qualifying results. Robbie Stapleford is pole position. Jordan Brennan in P2, just a couple of tenths behind. Max Edmondson in P3. Alex Toth-Jones in 4th. A newcomer to VRRC. I've not seen him race before, so it'll be interesting to commentate and see what Alex Toth-Jones can come up with in these 2 races. Dan Zelos, P5. James Haskell in 6th. Simon Reed, 7th, with Mick Sutton, 8th. And Lawrence Davey in P9. Interesting grid. I'm sure, while a smaller grid that we have normally seen, I'm sure we're still going to see some mega racing, especially in cars like these. Yeah, I cannot wait to get underway. Just looking through, have we got the drivers for... do you know what? As I said that, I believe Robbie has just jumped into the comms box. So, Dave, I'll let you have a chat with Mr. Stapleford, and then we'll get ready for race 1.
Comms box with our pole sitter, Robbie Stapleford. You know, quite gobsmacked, to be fair, about that moment you had on that very last lap. Sunny out, very sideways, but it just shows you are really pushing this car, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely pushing it. I was up a 10th and a bit, I think, on that last lap, but just if you get these cars sideways, you just lose no end of times, and then getting it corrected is just dead hard. So yeah, I think there's still some time in that, but glad I got pole, and hopefully I can just have a clean race and hopefully get away without any mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is sort of a rivalry that we start to see developing throughout other VRRC championships. You know, Jordan Brennan is normally pipping you at the post, but this time you sure have, you know, took 3 tenths out of his lap time. So you're really putting your own stamp onto this championship already.
Yeah, hopefully we have a clean one, and hopefully I can just pull away, and then it will come down to race 2 where I can just relax a bit, because I already know I've scored points in race 1. So
yeah, well, obviously, with it being a slightly smaller grid here for this championship, it does actually mean when we have a reverse grid, it's going to be a full reverse. So, you know, to go back all the way on the grid, it's going to be a difficult race too as well, isn't it? Depending on where you finish. These cars, this track, does it feel that narrow? Or is it actually one of them tracks where you feel overtaking's not going to be too bad?
I think just because the track's so bumpy, I think just on the brakes it's going to be hard just to get those right moves. But I think the track's not as narrow as some tracks, but I think the moves are still going to be hard if you're trying to lunge someone or anything. I think it's just going to be into this first corner and down the back straight, really, where the main overtaking places are, where you can line it up and just get the move done cleanly. And then I think in race 2, starting at the back is going to be good. You ain't going to have anybody behind me if I win it and it's full reverse grid. So I won't have any risk of anybody coming up behind me and taking me out, sort of thing. So.
Oh well, it sounds good, and it sounds like you got a bit of a plan there, Robbie.
Yeah.
Great pole lap, and good luck going into race 1, and we'll hopefully be speaking to you after that.
Cheers, Dave.
I think Robbie's got a bit of a plan there, Dan.
Well, he's got a bit of a plan. He's confident as well, isn't he? He is confident.
You know what? And I think he should be. You know, this now is a lap that he's gone out and done 3 tenths faster than anyone else. 3 tenths on a relatively short track. You know, it's got to be a good thing, really.
Well, you can't argue with it, can you? You cannot argue with that pace at all. And I suppose the confidence as well. Like he's already got the game plan set for race 2. I mean, that's not to say that the game plan will actually work, but having a game plan nevertheless is something that would work. So yeah, I mean, to be fair, fair play to Robbie. He's got some really good pace. Just a bit more housekeeping before we get underway for race 1. So we do have a couple more comments on the YouTube channel. By the way, make sure you do get involved on the YouTube channel. Make sure you like the stream as well if you have not already. It's great to catch up with everyone. So we've got Camera 5 saying Robbie having some great drives recently. Let's hope this can be one of them. I mean, to be fair, at the moment,
yeah,
shaping up to be exactly that. Michelle Dunn saying good luck, Jordan. And Ben Harfield saying, what gaming platform is it? This is AC, Ben. So if you are still there, this is Assetto Corsa.
On PC, though.
On PC, correct.
Assetto Corsa on PC. But yeah, brilliant community and an ever-growing collection of cars and tracks that we're using as well. And dare I say, dropping a little thing here, weather in future events.
Oh, interesting stuff. Interesting. That's what we like to hear. That's going to spice things up a little bit more. But yeah, not too long before we get underway for race 1 of the One Make Cup BMW 235i Championship. Dave, it's a bit too early to call, but what's your feelings? What's your feelings for round 1? What's your feelings for race 1?
You know what? If I'm honest, I think off practice, Max Edmondson in quali hasn't shown the pace he actually has. So I'm going to say Robbie, if he can get a clean start, get his head down, Robbie should have this, should pull away. Commentator's curse, I'm touching wood for him. But Max Edmondson, you know, he's not going to let that lie. He's not going to let Robbie just disappear in the distance. Max, if he can get his head in the groove and he can get the rhythm of the car early, he will be on Robbie's back bumper.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like I said, not too long before we find out, look at that, the lights are on your screen, bottom right hand corner of your screen is Mick Sutton on board, so let's see how he gets on. But lights are on. Who is going to get the jump for race 1? Lights are on, and away we go. Now, who is going to get the jump? Who is going to be the person off it? Do you know what? It's Jordan Brennan. Jordan Brennan's got the jump on Robbie Stapleford, so he's already dropped back down into P2 potentially. Who's actually going to get to the line, turn 1 first? It is still going to be Stapleford, but Jordan Brennan, he's not giving up. He wants to go around the outside, and you know what? He's gone and done it. So Brennan straight away capitalising on the opportunity with that great start. He's gone, thank you very much. He's now gone through side by side nearly back. Very, very brave indeed. You've got to be nice and easy there, chaps. Everyone actually gets through pretty much all okay. I mean, going through that chicane side by side, and you know what? That's Toth Jones and Edmondson still side by side, but now we've got Stapleford and Brennan side by side now. Brennan, though, still holding on. Already pulled a little bit of a gap, as that is Toth Jones. He has pulled out a bit of a gap from Max Edmondson, who is going to be, though, again, you got Robbie Stapleford. He wants this position back already. He is not holding out at all. 20 minutes plus 1 lap is the race distance for this race, but that will go over, that will be done and dusted very soon enough. Or Mick Sutton there, just saw in the bottom right corner of your screen, that's sailing into Sunny Inn just a little bit too quick, and I couldn't quite see. I think it was Mick Sutton that was Mick Sutton. I think it was Simon Reed and Mick Sutton that were having the incidents, the 2 blue BMWs. But at the moment, Brennan still leading this trade, but there's battles behind. I thought that was going to be a potential move. I believe that was Haskell on Zelos. And you know what? It still might be a move on Haskell versus Zelos. But nothing seems to be moving forward to there. Again, bottom right corner, we've got on board now from James Castle. Dropped a little bit from Zelos then. I thought he would have done it. Didn't have a particularly good exit. Dave, I mean, Jordan Brennan, at the moment, man of the race so far.
Wow, wow, wow. What a start that was. What is that? 6 cars in a consistent train all the way through lap 1. What a mega start. I believe it was Alex Toth Jones side by side with Max Edmondson through the chicane. There was a little bit of door banging. I think Max Edmondson made his way onto the rallycross track, came back alongside Alex Toth Jones towards Tower Bend, still side by side. With see here, Max Edmondson's really find it quite difficult here to get past Alex. You know, Alex's experience has probably driven this track in real life. He knows what works and knows how to defend, so he's not going to make this easy for Max Edmondson at all.
No, I can't imagine he would do it. To be fair, why would you? I said, Max Edmondson, you want a good race, why would you want to give that up? Look at Jordan Brennan's pulled 6/10 out with Stapleford. I mean, the race pace that Brennan's got at this early stage is just second to none. As we've got, again, now on board for Max Edmondson. Look at the back of Alex Toth Jones' 2.35. But he goes a little bit wide through the last complex. Who is going to be? Oh, I thought it was going to be a potential, but it still might be Max Edmondson. I think he's going to actually do it. You know exactly as you called it there, Dave. He has sent at the inside. Alex Toth Jones can do absolutely nothing to defend from that. He just needs to let the move happen, and that is it. But he's got a good run now going down into turn 1. So who is going to be the person that's going to come through? I thought he was going to try and go for an undercut then and try and cut back to the inside, but he decides against it. Instead, he's going to try and go around the outside, going through into turn 1. Very, very brave. Emerson shuts the door on him. Absolutely right. And that is the move done and dusted. Took a little bit of time, but the move was there, and it was done after a couple of corners. Simon Reed, though, wants to get up. He's actually, I think he's going to get up past Lawrence Davey. They're going to go side by side. That's going to be interesting. Oh, that was close indeed. But Lawrence Davey gets a massive sideways moment out of the chicane, and that's just allowed Simon Reed to just sail through. Has to cut back, but is Lawrence Davey going to try and make the move stick again? No, but we see Mick Sutton having a bit of a look. So Lawrence Davey is going to potentially lose 2 positions to the purple and blue BMWs, 2 of them. And that is 2 corners and 2 positions lost for Lawrence Davey. Not ideal there, Dave.
Wow, that was so tight going through the chicane there. That was one car just feeding in how they both got out of there, and then Lawrence Davey to have a little bit of oversteer on exit of that chicane. That was a huge moment there. But yeah, as you see, Jordan Brennan's just stretching his lead there over Robbie Stapleford. I wonder whether Robbie's just looking after his tyres here a bit going towards the end of the race, and whether he's going to have a comeback later on at Jordan Brennan. I've got to hand it to Max Edmondson. Fantastic move there into the hairpin. Set Alex up perfectly. That basically meant Alex didn't have anything for him, Got his nose just past him round the right-hander. Too late for Alex to try and defend it up the inside. He held it tight. Job done. Alex Toth-Jones here is dropping back a little bit from Max Edmondson. He has to watch it because Dan Zelos is actually starting to follow.
Yeah, I'm about to say, this is, only 5 minutes through this race. So 5 minutes through this first race, I mean, we're going to have to start, drivers are going to have to watch out. I mean, at the moment, though, you've got, Jordan Brennan and Robbie Stapleford. They're the two guys that are just driving the cars away from the field at the moment. Max Emerson, the gap is now 2.4 seconds and ever increasing. Stapleford, though, just looking at the sectors, he's actually just put in, I mean, almost near as makes no difference, 6,000ths of a second quicker than Jordan Brennan in the first sector, but quicker nevertheless. So I'm interested to see what the sector times are like and where Jordan Brennan is losing this time, because he seems to be dropping. Has caught up though a couple of tenths. So I wonder if Jordan Brennan has had a little bit of a slower first sector. He's actually dropping quite considerably, almost all of a sudden. Stapleford is completely, he's almost like two BMWs now into one, as Stapleford is on the back bumper of Jordan Brennan. Do you reckon, Dave, he's maybe running too hot tyre pressure? He got some amazing run at the start, but now his tyre pressures are too hot. He's got to try and let them cool down. Max Emerson's tyre pressures are going to be a lot hotter after that slide going through into the last hairpin corner. Yeah, Stapleford, he's found a bit of pace all of a sudden. He caught up about 0.6 of a second within that one lap. Yeah. So, interesting.
It could be that exactly. We see there Robbie Stapleford on the last lap took 0.2 of a second out of Jordan Brennan. So, Robbie's definitely making sure that Jordan realises he hasn't run away with this. He's definitely there on the pace. He can really close this gap. But I was talking to Jordan Brennan just before this race, and he did say he's having real wheel issues with lack of force feedback. So let's hope that hasn't hindered him too much in the run up to this race. And it's one of these things where the drivers spend that much time on the sim. You'll know yourself, Dan, it really doesn't take that much of a change before actually it feels really quite foreign to be behind it. So, fair play if Jordan's driving this with a wheel that he doesn't feel used to. He's doing a hell of a job, but not taking it away from Robbie Stapleford. On the timing sheets, even in practice, that's still one hell of a time he's setting. And if I'm honest, seems to be driving just a little bit cleaner here than Jordan and might be looking after his tyres a bit better.
Possibly. And this is really going to play into the fact, especially going those rear tyres, the traction, the front tyres have to do one half of the driving and the rear tyres have to do the other half. Normally what we have, especially with front wheel drive cars, they've got to do everything. So tyre management is a little bit more crucial because you've got the tyres to be, you've got the tyres that do both the steering and the acceleration and putting the power down. But in these cars, obviously it's split 50-50. That doesn't mean to say though that you do have to be careful. And actually, I'm always going to retract my statement. The tyre management is almost pretty much as important, especially when the grid and you've got the cars. And you look how close you've got Brennan and Stapleford. If Brennan has used up even another 5-10% of his tyres, with how close that the gap is between these two, I mean, that could make all the difference, Dave, especially coming into the last 2 laps, 3 laps of the race. Yeah,
I mean, this is 2 laps in a row now that Robbie's lapped 0.2 faster than Jordan Brennan there. That was a 27.8 by Brennan, a 27.6 by Robbie. And I reckon, I could be wrong in the way the car's handled, I think Jordan Brennan's running traction control off on his car and Robbie Stapleford running it on. And that could also explain why the start, maybe we saw Jordan Brennan pull away and actually get past Paul Sitter, Robbie Stapleford off the line.
Oh, interesting stuff, actually. That's a good point.
Because, see whether you think the control of the car, just for me, it looks like Jordan Brennan's got that sort of what I was explaining earlier about he's driving on the verge of oversteer, where Robbie's car looks almost understeery, but he's on the power sooner.
Yeah, you'd looked at it. Camera angle was actually really, really good going through sunny in. And going into sunny in, sunny out is, you see Jordan Brennan. He had a sideways moment. Stapleford did not at all. His car was as planted as they come. And I mean, to be fair, that was Thank you, Jordan Brennan, for again demonstrating that perfectly for us. You could very well be right there, Dave. It could very well be that Jordan Brennan is running with TC off, but Stapleford is running it on. He has a bit of a look now. This is really where it's starting to hot up. So I think you had Stapleford. This is probably now where he's seeing. He spent the last couple of laps seeing where he was going to try and make the move, seeing where he was quicker, seeing where he was slower. Now he's got that information. This is now where he gets the hammer down and tries to get past. He's had that little bit of a movement. There was never going to be an overtake there. He was too far back. But he's just putting himself in a position where Brennan knows that he's there. He's trying to set him, trying to put him off balance. Again, just a little bit there. He's in no position to make the move unless he does a Daniel Ricciardo style bands up the inside. But he's giving Jordan Brennan just that little bit of nudge, saying, I'm here, I want to get past. And at the moment, to be fair, with how much he's closing up and how close he is, it seems to be working. So it's really, at the moment, with how Robbie Stapleford is going, it's almost not a matter of where it's going to, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. Look how much there, again, Jordan Brennan, just his car looks to be all out of sorts. So if he is running TC off, he might want to try and push it on, although as I say that, Stapleford has a bit of a moment, drops back another 10th of a second. But it looked to be the car actually caught it in and sorted itself out a little bit quicker there than Dave.
Yeah, that exactly there is what I'm on about. You know, Robbie had the slightest moment there coming out of that corner, and where if that was Jordan, there wouldn't have been any power cut at all. He'd have just kept his foot in and drove the power slide. Robbie's car went sideways, and there, look, again coming out that hairpin, it's losing Robbie just a 2/10 down the straight, and it's Jordan's opening up the gap. So it looks like even if Jordan gets them oversteer moments, it's not costing him the time that it is for Robbie Stapleford. Yes, it is harder to drive, but maybe it is advantageous to run traction off.
I mean, like you said, swapping the TC, that could be something. Like I said, that could be something that we haven't really seen. We haven't really seen before, or we don't know if people are going to be using it. Obviously, we've got the next few weeks to really see what works for drivers and what doesn't. But this is actually a real learning curve for the drivers as well, because they don't necessarily know what other people are going to run. They don't know what other people are going to do. So, I mean, yeah, this could be something that this is a developing thing as the series and as the championship progresses. Yeah, look, the gap has opened up. Half a second is now the gap. I'm actually looking further down the field. Alex Toth-Jones has actually pulled about half a second, 7/10 of a second, in fact, on Dan Zelos. So again, I don't know. We're over halfway through this race now. 8 minutes left, so probably another 7 laps or so. So are we now going to see times? Are we going to see now drivers start pushing if they have been saving their tyres? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we're going to have to see how it goes in the closing stages of the first race. Arthur Bell, though, in the YouTube chat saying, Simon the People's Champ Reed, and as we can see, Simon is now on your screen now doing.
Oh, very nice.
That was, I tell you what, he's even showing off for the cameras. He knows what's happening.
I'm sure these drivers can hear us, Dan.
He probably can, can't he? Although his car is looking a little bit worse for wear. On the right hand side, that was obviously with the incident, I believe, with Mick Sutton. Yeah, so that is Reed up into, I think he actually passed Mick Sutton there, so he's now up into P7. Meanwhile, again, at the front, Robbie Stapleford is hunting down the back of Jordan Brennan. And it's almost, again, there or thereabouts. There's no real, it's almost like the concertina effect, and then it sort of like opens out again to the accordion effect as well, I like to call it. It just closes up in some areas, then opens up in others. Again, you see there, closes down about half a tenth, and then opens straight back up again. So we may even be seeing here, Dave, that not only are these drivers potentially, if they're running different traction control strategies, we might not only be seeing in certain corners where one car performs better, but in certain phases of each of these corners as well, which is another. I mean, you can go so much granular detail into these even traction control strategies and traction control sets that you can almost get lost in it and get a bit too carried away. But it's interesting to see again these phases of different corner sections where either of these cars are performing better than one another.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jordan Brennan incredibly close to the tyre stack there on the right hand side, going to the hairpin here. This is where it's interesting, almost an identical line choice here, but watch, as you get over the start finish line, look at how Jordan Brennan's just eking that 10th of a second. That's all on corner exit with that traction control. So it's one of them things, if you can control that right foot, you know, it might be beneficial to try and turn it off, but that's not to say TC on is probably a lot more consistent. But I was going to say the lap before the one they've just set, even though we're seeing these different driving styles, 0.02 of a second separated lap time. So no wonder we're seeing a bit of a chicken and egg here. We're not quite sure who's got the pace on who here. and whether or not if Robbie Stiltford just had a bit of clean air, whether he would actually be able to pull away here. But to be fair, both drivers here doing a great job at really providing some great racing to watch.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And I'm excited for race 2, especially with that reverse grid. That's really going to spice things up. But as it stands at the moment, that is going to be Brennan is going to be right at the back of the field. Robbie Stapleford obviously just ahead. So it's going to be a bit of role reverse between these two. And they're obviously going to have to maybe even work together to try and get through. And to try and get through the pack. I mean, they've got the pace. Look at that, 3.1 seconds from Max Edmondson, who's had a bit of a lonely race, actually, has Max. I mean, I don't think he's going to be complaining P3 at this moment in time. He's just under 2 seconds ahead of Alex Toth-Jones, and a further couple of seconds up the road from Dan Zelos, who's dropped another little bit of time between himself and Mr. Toth-Jones. So yeah, Max Edmondson just running his race. He's just doing what he needs to do. He's hitting his laps. He's not driving the car too hard. He doesn't need to at this point. You know, he's got 5 minutes left of this race. All he needs to do is just bring the car home, and that's a nice P3, and he'll be ahead of both Stapleford and Brennan in the second race. Interesting. I'm interested. Actually, look at that. Lap times. He's just put in a purple lap. 127.746. It's only a little bit quicker than the two drivers in front, but it's quicker nevertheless. So are we going to see, again, obviously Max cannot catch up 3 seconds. If he does, the only way he'll be able to catch up those 3 seconds is if these two battle, which is a very high possibility.
Yeah, I think a battle is imminent here, Dan. I think a battle is imminent. And as you say,
Whoa.
as we see Jordan Brennan, that confirms to me Jordan definitely has TC off. Here's the battle. Max will be looking at this thing, and this is prime time for me to go. In fact, actually, don't believe it, but Robbie Stiltford, before the right-hander through Jim Clark S's, has actually got job done. Is Jordan Brennan going to go up the inside into Sunny in? This is exactly what Max needs to catch up. These drivers side by side through corners, they'll be losing so much time here.
Well, they've already lost about 6/10 of a second. Look at these guys. They're not giving it any inch that they need to. No more, no less. But Jordan Brennan, he's actually had to concede now, but he's going to try and get the cutback. Almost as potentially a double or even a triple cutback, depending on where he can go. He can't quite get the move done. So Robbie Stapleford does take that position away from him. But look, this is where we now see Jordan Brennan getting on that power. He can manage the traction better on the exit. And yet again, actually, as I say that, he dropped a little bit of time there, though. So back 2/10 of a second. What a move there from Stapleford. We did see Brennan obviously get that move back, go through Sunny in and Sunny out, but couldn't quite keep it stuck. Now it's a role reversal. What is Brennan going to do? He is running traction control off. He is quicker in some sections. He's slower in others. So what can Stapleford do? This is the opportunity. We were talking about this, Dave. What is Stapleford going to do? If he has that clean air, which he now has, can he pull away? He's already pulled about 1/10 of a second. But, like I said, role reversal, this is going to be completely different. Who's going to be late on the brakes? We know how good Brennan is on the brakes. We know how good Stapleford is on the brakes. So, I mean, this can go absolutely either way with 3 minutes to go. Max Edmondson, 1.4 seconds has just dropped. He wanted these two to battle a little bit harder, and at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case. It almost looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I think Stapleford is still just eked out a little bit of a gap. Although, as I say that, Jordan Brennan proving me right, wrong, well and truly. As we go through Croft, Sunny in and Sunny out, he looked to be catching up a little bit. There is the on-board for Max Edmondson getting front row tickets to the racing up ahead. But yeah, I think it may be a little bit too late as Robbie, look at Jordan Brennan, a massive sideways moment there. Again, Max Edmondson getting first-class tickets to this. And he's actually caught up another 3/10 of a second. Are Jordan Brennan's tyres, are they completely done? Is this it? Has he pushed his tyres too hard?
That could be the thing. That could be the thing. A little few PSI too much in them rear tyres could really be seeing Jordan really struggling for that rear end grip. And yeah, Robbie Stiltford there, look, not doing a lap time that much faster really than the lap times he was doing with Jordan Brennan. That was about 1/10.5 faster. Jordan Brennan was nearly 5/10 slower that lap. So that just shows Robbie has got that consistency. Jordan's maybe just starting to struggle with them tyres, or he might have that wheel issue, or he might be just finding it harder to follow on this circuit. Any of them three things increase pressure from Max Edmondson here. He's half that gap. It's down to 1.5 seconds from 3 seconds in about 4 minutes. As we're seeing Max Edmondson getting very sideways, that probably tells me both Riggs eSports cars are running no traction control.
I mean,
it looked great, that, didn't it?
I mean, to be fair, fair play to all these guys. The car control that these guys have got is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, the gap Stapleford and Brennan has opened up yet again. James Haskell, again, a respectable drive from him at this moment in time. He's a little bit further back on the rest of the pack, but he's running his own race. He's going to have, that will actually promote him to P4 for the reverse grid. Dan Zelos, again, another person that's just been running their own race. So he is the man currently in P5. Haven't seen the pace that we've normally seen from Mr. Zelos. Again, could be rear-wheel drive that's affecting him maybe a little bit. I'm not too sure as he gets a little bit sideways going out of the complex. I don't know, Dave. That's something that I'd probably ask you. Do you reckon it's because he's used to front-wheel drive? I'm not saying he's a slow driver by any stretch of the imagination. But could it maybe take him a little bit more to get used to these rear-wheel drive cars?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Dan as well earlier on in the week, and it exactly is that. You know, he claims himself he is a front-wheel drive driver. He doesn't drive rear-wheel drive. I'm not saying he doesn't understand the car. It's just the seat time has always been in front-wheel drive. It's a completely different driving style, completely different discipline, and it's just not his expertise, and he would quite happily agree to what I'm saying. We'll try and get an interview with him, and he will back what I'm saying. Alex Toth-Jones actually, you know, he's done the GT style rear-wheel drive driving in the GT Cup in real life. So what we're seeing here from Dan actually is a very strong performance regarding who's actually just in front of him. Alex Toth-Jones, you know, he doesn't do many of the smaller VRRC championships. He's done the bigger touring car leagues, and he did the first Mini E Series. And you know, he's proven himself on a simulator. He's jumped in at the deep end here and gone straight away into 4th place. You know, for all it's not a very big grid, I can promise anyone watching here the driving standards and the quality of driver, them 9 are really high. You know, for anyone doubting it, just jump into one of our practice servers, come in and watch the live time and see how close we can get. We encourage it, we want it, but yeah, bring the competition to them.
But exactly, absolutely. Look at that. Last lap is already underway. Very, very close actually between Brennan and Stapleford. Obviously, Brennan actually losing another second, but I mean, it's so close with the top 3. So last lap, 27.949 for Stapleford, 27.944 for Jordan Brennan, and then 28.035 for Max Edmondson. So, I mean, to be fair, it could have gone absolutely either way, especially if the battle had been there between Brennan and Stapleford a little bit more, then that would have really put a spanner in the works. And obviously, it would have been great for Max Edmondson, exactly what he would have wanted. But at the moment in time, it doesn't look like this is going to be the case. But Robbie Stapleford going through Barcroft for the last time for race 1. He's got a few more corners left to go through Sunny Inn. Sorry, that was Barcroft just there. This is now Sunny Inn as he goes through, keeps the car in check. Little bit of sideways moment, just about uses all of the curb a little bit more. He's actually gone maybe a little bit too wide, using the rallycross track as we've decided, and then go through Sunny out. So yes, complex to go one more time. Bit of rear rotation, on the way in under braking. So again, controls that incredibly well. He's actually dropped a couple of tenths. Interesting to see that as well. So Brennan probably hasn't lost any pace. It's more so the consistency that potentially he was lacking. But look at that. Last corner negotiated without a glitch. And Robbie Stapleford does take race 1 victory for the One Make Cup BMW 235i Championship here at Croft. Brennan comes home in P2 with Edmondson in P3. Look at that. Alex Toth-Jones at P4 with Zelos in 5th. Is actually, I mean, looking at the times, we've got times progressively quicker for everyone. So they obviously get more used to these cars, more track time, like you were saying there, Dave. So they're really starting to get the hang of these cars, which is going to be, I mean, even better racing. That's going to really promote everything going on for the remainder of this series. But so yes, James Haskell in P6. And then we've got Simon Reed and Mick Sutton in 7th and 8th. And then Lawrence Davey will be coming home in a few moments' time. You can just see him on the track map there, going through the complex one last time. But yeah, I mean, Dave, it's definitely one of the smaller grids we've seen, but it's not short of action still, is it?
It is definitely not short of action, that is for sure. Smaller grid, possibly even more action, slightly easier to follow. And I tell you what a track and car combo. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It is fantastic. Like I said, Croft, track that I don't necessarily, I've never commentated on before. I watch it a little bit, obviously in touring cars, but I've never really properly watched it. But we are being told as well, we do have the drivers from your top 3 from race 1 in the commentary booth. So, Dave, I'll let you have a chat with those guys. Let's see how they got on.
Yeah, so we've got our P3 finisher, Max Edmondson, You know what? I don't think you'd be too disheartened with that, Max. Really good lap pace there, and enough to show that you're definitely on the pace of the front runners, just maybe not quite the start that you needed.
Yeah, didn't have the bestest of starts, but once I got into the rhythm, I was sort of consistently fast. But Robbie and Jordan just added to that little edge over me, and that little consistent edge, which obviously give them 1 and 2.
I've got to ask you, Max, did you make it to the rallycross track through that first chicane on the first lap?
I mean, we went too wide, but I thought he was going to go through the tyres, but it didn't, and I luckily survived. But I thought I was going to die, to be fair.
Did you end up on the rallycross track?
Yeah, I think I went past it, to be fair.
No, it was a great opening lap, and to be fair, watching the battle between you and Alex Todd Jones, it was really good to watch on stream as well. So great racing there, Max, and honestly, definitely a one to watch in this next race. I don't want the commentators curse you, but your lap times were there, really competitive. So looking forward to seeing what you can do in race 2. And on to our P2 finisher, Jordan Brennan. Very different driving styles between you and Robbie Stapleford. You more the looser, more Colin McRae sort of sideways. Was that a case of just the tyres went off at the end, or was it, Robbie was just getting to you a little bit there?
The tyres did go off a bit, but I don't know. Robbie's just got something in his car that I don't. I just can't keep it in a straight line as much as he does, but I don't know. It was a good race. I knew he was faster than me, but he tried to keep me behind me, but made one big massive mistake. Coming out of tower, I just got on the power over a bump, and it just back end went, and he got through there. But it was a really good battle, to be fair, and well done to him.
Yeah, we did see that moment. It was an excellent hold, and to be fair, watching through Jim Clark S is not a place you really want to be going side by side. So fair play to both drivers there for keeping that incredibly clean. Looking forward to seeing what you can do in race 2, and congrats on a P2 finish in race 1, John.
Cheers, thanks.
And on to our race winner, Robbie Stapleford. Jordan definitely didn't make that easy, but you have to be happy with that, surely.
Yeah, definitely happy with that, and no, it didn't make it easy at all. This track's really hard to overtake, and Brennan's good at defending and keeping position, so yeah, it definitely weren't easy. And then eventually it just cracked and made a mistake coming out of the corner and on the power, and I just got alongside him and then got the move done. But yeah, well done to Jordan for getting a good start and holding it till then. But yeah, I knew I had the pace to get the lead, but it was just getting it, and that time eventually came, and then as soon as I got it, I pulled away. But yeah, we'll just see how this one goes from the back.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great race to watch. It was basically action door to door from the start line. I take it that it's one of them track and car combos. Yeah, it's really quite difficult, but are you starting to really feel the car? Is it starting to actually reward sort of the way you're driving now? Are you getting on with it?
Yeah, if you're smooth with it, it's definitely rewarding, but if you're aggressive with it, it definitely bites you. But yeah, this track I don't think this track helps with the car because it's bumpy, so once you get on the power, there's like a bump there, so it just unsettles the car so much. But I think when it goes to Thruxton, it might be a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to be looking forward when it goes to Thruxton, probably one of the fastest tracks, and seeing how he's coped with that. But for now, I'll let you concentrate, focus for race 2, and looking forward to seeing how you get through the pack.
Yeah, cheers, Dave.
Well, there we go. So interesting there. I think, like you were saying, we were saying, David, and Jordan Brennan, I think Jordan Brennan put it pretty much perfectly, that Stapleford had something in his car that Brennan didn't. Potentially, as it turns out. We may have lost Dave, actually. I'm not entirely sure where he is. Hopefully he'll be back in a few moments' time. Yes, so just about to get underway for race 2 here, reverse grid as well, bear in mind. So this is one of the things we've got to watch out for. So yes, this reverse grid. So Lawrence Davey goes on to the top step of this podium that you can see. Mick Sutton and then Simon Reed rounding out your top 3 for race 2. Dave, I believe we have you back.
Yeah, I just had to jump quickly there into the driver briefing just to, say to them again that, if we're seeing 2 or 3 cars abreast going through the first chicane, they can cut through the chicane as long as they don't get an advantage. We'd obviously much rather see that than a big 9-car pileup.
Yes, I think that's very, very true. Actually, one of the things I wanted to ask, I'm guessing these tyre bells, they're immovable. Is that correct? Or
Oh,
can
yes.
they move?
Oh no, they are very much, for all they appear as a tyre, they are a car stopper.
Right. they're a lead car tyre, are they? Yeah, so like I said, even more reason to make sure we don't have that car pilot. I mean, a reverse grid. Wow, this is going to throw a spanner into the works if we have ever seen one. But let's see what's happened. Lawrence Davey takes your starting grid, takes your pole position for race 2. Drivers got to make sure they get a clean getaway. What is going to happen? The lights are on for race 2 of the 235i Cup and Championship. What is going to happen? Lights out, away we go. Who is going to get the jump? It seems to be actually, I think Simon Reed is going to get the jump going through into turn 1. Who is going to come down? I don't actually know. It's going to be potentially 3 abreast going into turn 1, but it is indeed Lawrence Davey. Look at that. James Haskell's going to try and go around Mick Sutton. Actually, it wasn't Simon Reed. It was Mick Sutton. All camera angle there shows a bit of door bang in there. That's not good, especially what we wanted rear-wheel drive cars. There's 3 cars going into 1. Oh, no. That was Simon Reed actually getting... Oh, that's just gone. There we go. Okay, so we've been confirmed there. That is indeed a safety car because everyone's done some pirouettes. Everyone's got a bit round. This is the only problem with these rear-wheel drive cars is if something does happen, it tends to be quite big, and there's normally quite as much as these race cars. Obviously, you can control them with the rear of the car. You've still got to be careful. They've only got a certain amount of lock before and the lock is obviously a lot less than what you would have in a standard a road car. The steering rack is a lot quicker, but yeah, the lock is less. So yeah, there's a little bit less ability to actually catch these moments. But yeah, safety car being deployed. It's probably going to be a virtual safety car, as we have seen. So it'll be Lawrence Davey, who's still leading the way, by the way. A great performance and a great start from him. Obviously, with Mick Sutton in behind, everyone trying to frantically keep some heat into these tyres. Last thing they want to do is to have a cold tyre going into turn 1, because if I'm honest, the car probably you're going to lose a lot of pace if you don't keep these tyres up. I wonder if we're going to go straight away, because everyone seems to be already at the back of the grid. So yeah, Lawrence Davey, I think we is going to be leading this pack. When is he going to go? Do you know what? I think he may have already actually gone. Yes, so look at that. Lawrence Davey sailing away from Mick Sutton. He's already pulled 0.8 of a second, but as hit the restart already going. Doesn't take very long for these cars to bunch up. And obviously, there's no point keeping these cars running around for safety car format for longer than they need to be. So Lawrence Davey going through already, yes, 0.8 of a second up. What is Mick Sutton going to be able to do? That is James Haskell. Again, P6 in race 1. He's currently P3 in race 2, but Max Edmondson is hunting him down, and he's wanting to make that move. To be fair as well, looking behind him, he's got Robbie Stapleford behind him. This is actually, we always like a reverse grid, so it always throws a bit of spice into the mix. What's going to happen here? James Haskell's going to already have to go defensive on the restart, going through into tower. Bit of bumper to bumper there. Lawrence Davey's got a little bit wide. That's going to open Mick Sutton to try and go around. Actually, no, it doesn't. No, I take that back. I thought that was going to be a perfect opportunity for Sutton to go around, but he's got a little bit slower. That's going to open up the door for James Haskell. Oh my goodness, Dave, it's going to be absolutely incredible. They're going to go potentially 2-3 wide going into Sunny in. That was James Haskell losing out. It looks like he got on the grass then. He's lost, 4 positions? Potentially 5, actually, because Jordan Brennan goes, thank you very much, and doesn't think twice about taking that position away. A great start, though. Great restart from Lawrence Davey. He pulled 0.8 of a second out on that restart alone. Yeah, it was a phenomenal restart there. As we see Max Edmondson, Mick Sutton, made that really hard there for Max Edmondson. He made it look like he was going to run the corner wide. Max Edmondson backed off it and tricked him, got the undercut, and actually opened up the corner for himself. So great driving there from Mick Sutton. Yeah, James Haskell there, just a little bit wide, what I was on about earlier, wide going into Barcroft, and unfortunately, as soon as he got 2 wheels on that grass on the outside, just understeered wide. Oh, we're seeing a little bit argy-bargy. That's Dan Zelos through. Will James get through on the inside? This is going to be 2 abreast going into the chicane. Oh, that just about worked. Dan, no, it didn't.
That's a big collision there. It's Jordan Brennan. I think just caught the wall there. That was nearly an absolutely huge collision. This is going to be 3 abreast going into tower. James Haskell in the middle, Dan Zelos up the inside, Jordan Brennan with a very used set of panels on that BMW. This is going to be 2 abreast going down through the Jim Clark S's. Dan, this is not a good position to be in.
It's not a good position to be in, but I don't know who it's a bad position to be in for. Look at that. That was going, someone was going, what I think that was again, James Haskell. But that's Brennan going to try and get the inside of Alex Toth-Jones. I think he's made the move stick going, sunning in. He does indeed. Max Edmondson's actually just seen, he's just got past Lawrence Davey, because I think he's dropped a couple of positions. So Max Edmondson's now in your lead with Stapleford in P2. Lawrence Davey has dropped down to P3, but look at that again, still side by side between that is Toth-Jones and James Haskell. Dan Zelos is the next person in sight for Mr. Brennan. So how quickly is he going to be to catch up to the back of this car? What's going to happen? The two teammates of Toth-Jones and Haskell are battling it out at this moment in time, but they don't seem to be making any moves on each other. So Toth-Jones stays in P6 with Haskell in P7. And yes, so Reed P8, and obviously Mick Sutton, unfortunately, having that small little incident going through out the exit of that chicane for the restart, and he goes and drops down into P9. But yeah, the gaps have opened up a little bit, but as we saw, Max Edmondson, he's got some good pace. He had some really good pace. He was lapping there or thereabouts between Edmondson, Stapleford, and Jordan Brennan to a certain extent. So
yeah. I'm not sure there actually whether Max Edmondson had a little bit more speed than Jordan Brennan. I'm not sure, and if that is the case, Robbie Stapleford here could actually be finding it even more difficult to get past Max Edmondson. Just needs to keep it nice and clean, you know, not leave any doors up, but not go overly defensive. That it brings that lap time right down. It's just about lapping on that consistent pace, just enough there. Who's that? That's gone very, very wide there. Was that Lawrence Davey, I believe? Going in Barcroft, that's exactly what I was on about. You run wide on the grass there and you find that barrier later down the road.
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Although that's meant that that is Simon Reed that potentially going to have a move going through. Oh, look at this. This is Robbie Stapleford. We talked about this. I didn't think they were going to catch up as quick, but look at that. That 0.3 of a second has really come down. He's actually having to make Max Edmondson drive defensively. Exactly the same thing, though, as look at that behind. Zelos has already been caught up by Jordan Brennan. I think we've just seen that Simon Reed has already caught up and passed Lawrence Davey. So he's now up into P7. The gap is about just over a 10th of a second. There we go. The bottom right corner of the screen is on board with Jordan Brennan. Apologies, yeah, Jordan Brennan. He's just behind Dan Zelos. I mean, this is going to be a battle that we're going to have to watch out for, because this is going to be close. It might already be done and dusted going through into Tower. It's not, though. So we could see a carbon. We might even see a deja vu here, because I thought for a second there. Oh, look at that! It's going to be up the inside. Is Jordan Brennan on Dan Zelos? Textbook move, done and dusted. Wow, Dan Zelos is going, making up his own track there, going through Tower. Obviously turned in, had a bit more grip than what he thought. Yeah,
that was mega to watch across the inside. I mean, I don't think we're really calling for track limits when you're drifting across the inside grass to make the apex, can we?
I mean, yeah, it's I honestly, I really don't know what happened there. Actually, it's very hard to explain. It's like Dan Zelos' car. He just had a lot more grip at the front end than he was anticipating, and obviously just turned in a little bit too soon. Car gripped up, and off he went on the inside. Let's say completely sideways. But Stapleford still can't get by Max Edmondson at this moment in time. Although, as I say that, he's going to be trying to. Dave, I don't know if you checked the YouTube chat recently, but you may want to. We've got Rob Butler. We've got a couple of your fans that are in the. Viewer that are watching this race by the looks. One of them being Mr. Rob Butler. Yeah, coming down. Who's going to be the person? Jordan Brennan's just set a purple sector, as well as Alex Toth-Jones has just set his personal best. Oh, there's going to be side by side going through into the first.
That's a great
what
move.
On earth, Max?
That is a great move.
Max, it's still not over yet, though. They're going to go potentially side by side. They are going side by side into the chicane. Decide against it, though, and Max Edmondson does manage to keep that trap position.
What a move!
What a move!
That was unbelievable, that Dan. What commitment that took. Max Edmondson, great respect from both drivers there, not to have hit any doors. I can't believe I've just witnessed that. Round the outside of turn one, through the chicane. I tell you what, Robbie will be more determined than ever to try and get past now after that move's just being pulled.
Well, I mean, like I said, exactly, I'd agree with you there, Dave. So Max Edmondson, obviously, great respect for Max Edmondson being able to know how much that Stapleford was going to give him. But yeah, to be fair as well, Robbie Stapleford, he could have run him out wide a lot earlier in that corner, but chose against it, wanted to make sure to keep it nice and respectful. So really good. It's exactly what we want to see. We've got, that is Jolo Community saying hey. So hello, Mr. Jolo. Ryan as well saying hey. That's Ryan Elliott as well. We've got Rob Butler, Mick Pearson in the chat, Michelle Dunn, like loads of people in the chat, which is really good to see. Robbie Stapleford roll. What's going to happen here? Can the move be done again? He needs to get a good clean exit going through into turn 1, because at the moment, I mean, Max Edmondson, he's got it done and dusted. He's got job done through turn 1. He knows exactly what he needs to do. So Stapleford was ahead for quite a majority of turn 1, and it still didn't make a bit of difference, because Max Edmondson just kept his foot pinned going through turns 2 and 3. And yeah, I mean, there's no stopping Max Edmondson going through the first complex then, by the looks of it. But that's also meaning that, look at Jordan Brennan, the gap is about 1.4 seconds. It's come right down now. It's just teetering on the verge of being a second behind Stapleford. So Jordan Brennan's found a bit of pace. Obviously, we knew he had pace in the last race, but can he keep this car in check? Just about halfway has gone. So what is going to happen here? Are we going to see a drop-off in this? We're going to see the drop-off like we did in the first race. We're going to have to find out. Like I said, 10 minutes has just ticked over. Alex Toth-Jones, though, very, very close to Dan Zelos. This could be a battle as well then, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a battle, this is going to be one to watch. You know, it's one thing when a real driver meets a sim driver, but when two real drivers meet on track, it's another world, Dan. You know, these drivers, it's about pride. It's about, you know, trying to one-up another driver. You know, you've got a current mini JCW challenge driver there, battling, you know, a British GT driver. As we see there, Max Edmondson shown yet again great can control and, you know, real respect with that throttle pedal. You know, he left tyres there with just getting out on that grass. That would have been so easy there for them turbos to spool up, get too much on that throttle, lose the back end. Instead, he kept his calm, just drove it around the left, kept defensive, and Robbie's still there, sitting there. And look at the lap times. Nothing to separate lap times either.
No, absolutely. But the person that is to separate lap times is Jordan Brennan. He's pulled out another 3/10 of these two drivers up ahead. So I think this is going to be a three-way battle for the race win for this time around. But it's going to be a two-way battle for P4, because Alex Toth-Jones is very, very close again to the back of Dan Zelos's car. It's come down about half a tenth. It's not come down too much. It could be, again, like Toth-Jones is just saving his tyres maybe for the last like 5 minutes of this race. But it's actually very, very close. It's, you know what, it's even so close to the point whereas if these top three really start battling, I reckon this could be a potential 5-way battle. I mean, it would have to be really aggressive fighting from the top three, but it could very well be something we haven't seen out of the realms of possibility.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if these manage to close up onto that podium spot and then they all start battling, don't rule out P6, James Haskell. You know, he's still there, look. He's just lurking in the background, just around 2 seconds off the bat, Alex Toth-Jones. It's not going to take much at all, especially, let's forget about 4th and 5th catching third. If 4th and 5th even just battle alone, that can really bring James. As we see there, Max Edmondson getting a huge slide. Is he going to manage to get across? There's Dan Zelos round. There's James Haskell up into P5. Yet again, it's almost as if they hear me, Dan.
I was about to say, the commentators are sitting in there then. Look at that, Max Edmondson, that small moment that he had, he can't quite make the move stick. He's not going to be able to go around the outside because Stapleford is going to exactly know what he's doing. That's a bit of a tap there for... Oh, no. That was a bit of an unfortunate tap there. Just couldn't quite get the move. He tried to make the move stick, but I think, to be fair, just wasn't anticipating where Robbie Stapleford's car was going to be. So that is Stapleford dropped down into P6. Not ideal, not exactly what Edmondson wanted. He's now actually having to battle from Alex Toth-Jones here. And looking at that, though, Toth-Jones, that's actually having him actually battling. That is Toth-Jones up into P3. But yeah, James Haskell not too far behind. I mean, to be fair, now Jordan Brennan, he needs to just pull this car home. He's got 6 minutes and 45 seconds left. He just needs to do exactly what he needs to do. Alex Toth-Jones, a bit of Formula Drift, and that's actually put now him into the clutches of James Haskell. What a save that was from Toth-Jones there. Like I said, a bit of Formula Drift going through. That's actually going to open the door for James Haskell as he had a bit of a look. I thought they were going to had a bit of contact there from that camera angle, but luckily they did not. So,
Is everyone's tyres on the back gone to plastic this lap? I mean, everyone's just deciding, you know what, let's just hang the back out and look out the side window. Really unfortunate. It looked like Dan Zelos was a little bit too early on the power, or got a slight tap out the hairpin. He spanned round, that swapped positions further down the grid. Then, you know, round the second corner, you know, it might be a steward's inquiry that whether or not it's proceeded forward. it looked to me like Max was just trying to show his nose in a gap that maybe wasn't quite there. Robbie Stiltford closed that gap. Unfortunately, there's a tap. You could tell it wasn't malicious straight away because Max backed out, tried to give the place back, but when there's a driver going off and spinning on the inside the corner, there's that much time then lost by that driver. You can't really slow down enough to give that position back. So unfortunately, Max Edmondson's had to keep his foot down, carry on up the road, just, decide what happens later on when the clerks look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, it's one of those things. No, absolutely no malicious intent behind it. You saw him in some back off. Yeah, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and then wait for the stewards and see what they decide. After this race, James Haskell getting a little bit sideways going through sunny in, a bit sideways through sunny out as well. That's going to be, to be fair, I think gap 0.7 of a second between himself and Alex Toth Jones. It's brought out a little bit. It's actually just dropped, just ticked over to 0.8. But 5 minutes left to go. Everything, obviously, with that incident that we had there, everything's just been blown wide open. I'm intrigued to see what's happening with Max Edmondson, because I think, to be fair, again, he's just running roundabout lap pace that he needs to run. Yeah, last lap was a 28.6. Jordan Brennan's last lap there was a 28.1. So he's really got the hammer down, and he wants this win. Even though he's, like I said, 3.3 seconds clear, he's not holding pace off at all. Is he, Dave? He's only a 10th off of his best lap for this race.
Yeah, definitely not. And I tell you a battle I'm going to be watching. 4 minutes to go. Robbie Stiltford probably with quite a bit of fire in his belly after that off in turn 2. He's only a second off the bat of Dan Zelos. So let's watch them timing screens, because I tell you what, he'll be hungry for that 5th place. And as I say that, he's just set purple sector 1. So Robbie has really got pedal to the metal here. You know what? I'm going to call it now. If he can get past Dan Zelos quickly, it's not off the books here that Robbie could end up with P4 here.
I mean, potentially, it's definitely a possibility. I think Dan Zelos is actually catching up a little bit to James Haskell. So let's have a look at the last laps. 128.6 was last lap for James Haskell. Last lap for Dan Zelos was 128.3, but yeah, last lap for Stapleford 127.991. So yeah, he is not hanging about in the slightest. Sector 2 times coming across our timing tower now. Again, another purple sector for Stapleford. He was about another 0.3 quicker than Dan Zelos. The gap has gone down from a second to half a second in the space of half a lap. So he is absolutely a man on a mission. Yeah, like you said, Dave, if he gets past Dan Zelos quick enough, I don't think Dan Zelos will make it easy for him, but if he does get past him quick enough, then absolutely, yeah, P4, not off the cards for him.
Yeah, definitely not. 3 minutes to go, and the lap time he's on just did a 27.5 with worn tyres. Dan Zelos in front of 128.3, 128.3 from James Haskell as well. So he's lapping not far off, a second a lap faster than fifth and 4th place. I tell you what, if Robbie can get this job done relatively quickly, look at that, already done. This is not what James Haskell wants to see here. Robbie's already through. 2 minutes to go. Dan, I can't work out how many laps that's left. Probably 3 laps left to go, 2 laps left to go. This is definitely on for a P4 yet for Robbie.
You're right. You are absolutely right. Yeah, P4 definitely on the cards there. So it's just how quickly can James Haskell keep up. The gap between Haskell and Stapleford, 2 seconds. It's actually just dropped down to 1.9. Yeah, so I think, to be fair, looking at that, I think Dan Zelos backed out. You saw him pull over. I think he backed out of that. He let Stapleford around the outside. Again, he knew that there was going to be no point in trying to defend. He obviously saw the pace. He's an experienced driver. He's an experienced racer. He knows when to battle, when not to. And the gap has already opened up half a second. So
I tell you what he might be thinking, Dan. I tell you what he might be thinking. He might be thinking,
yes,
I'll let Robbie go, tuck in, and if he can catch up to James, that might promote me another spot. Possibly.
It's not far-fetched. So yeah, this could be again the level-headedness from Dan Zelos and there. Like I said, playing this and trying to play his cards right, trying to select them and see if we can have Stapleford just pulled out 0.6 of a second. Near as makes no difference on James Haskell. So this is going to be. Did you
just watch him through turn 1 and 2 there? That is a driver absolutely driving the wheels off that car. Fair play to him.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Look at that. So yeah, James Haskell on the rear view camera. You can see, look at the closing speed between himself and Robbie Stapleford. Again, another 0.3 of a second. Near as makes no difference. Again, that he's just taken out of James Haskell in that P2. It's also think, correct me if I'm right, I think it might be Dan Zelos is actually catching up, or he's not dropping back as quickly as I thought with the pace that he had. The gap's 0.8 of a second, so it's going about the same sort of rate, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, what's going to happen for the remainder of this race? I can't imagine that.
Look at that commitment there, out to sunny out. I tell you what, Robbie's committing to them inside tyres on, the outside tyres on the left-hand side of the car, over the right-hand curb, so fully over the grass on the inside, maximising as much track as he's paid his entry. He might as well use every bit of grass available. Really taking all of that corner, and you can see the difference in speed there. There's half a second in one lap. I tell you what, Dan, this is going to come down to the wire.
Well, it's going to be close, isn't it? Look at that. Robbie Stableford again, just put in another PB of 1:27.484. To put that in comparison, last lap he was 0.8 quicker than Jordan Brennan. So the pace that Stableford has got, look at that. James Haskell having a bit of a moment though. This is just going to leave the door open even more now going into Tower for Stableford versus Haskell. What's going to happen here? I don't even know if there's going to be much of a fight there to be had. I'm sure that James Haskell's isn't going to want to give up this position too easily, but he might not have a choice because of the pace that Stableford has got. He hangs him out to dry though going through Tower, so he can't quite make the move there as I try and get the words out of my mouth quick enough for the action that is going on. Stableford darts one way, then darts the other. Can't quite make a move stick through the Jim Clark S's. Is he going to try and make a move going through Sunny in and then Sunny out? But yeah, look, exactly as you said, Dave, you called it first. Dan Zelos has already caught that position up. So this is exactly what Dan Zelos wanted. And there's going to be one more lap to go after this. As you can see, Jordan Brennan, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. He's got one more corner to go, and then one more lap after this. And then he goes through. What's going to happen with Stableford? Is he going to try and make the move? I thought he was going to make the move even before the last lap kicked off. Yeah,
this is a case of, at what point does Robbie try and go for this move? Very much a case, he can actually lose so much time here if he tries to make them moves on corners that he's trying to force rather than just let the move happen. He's clearly got some serious pace over James here, but he needs to try and figure out where that massive difference in time is. Is he going to try into turn two? He is indeed. They go slight wheel to wheel. That is job done. Great move there by Robbie Stableford. And watch Dan Zelos. He's going to have the run of speed difference over James. It's going to put him on the outside. James has a slight slide going down towards Tower. This is going to put Dan Zelos up the inside of the right. There's fifth place back. Is Dan even going to have a chance to go at Robbie here?
Well, I don't know, to be fair. I think Robbie's got that pace. He needs to got that. He's got that pace. He's not going to make the move stick. Bit of tap there from James Haskell. So he gets bumped a little bit forward as well. So he bumps Dan Zelos about. But yeah, Zelos is now back in front of James Haskell. So Haskell losing two positions though. But look how much curb he's cutting. He's really wanting that position back. Is he going to try and make the move going through into Sunny in? Oh, I thought he was going to have a bit of a look there. A little bit more of a tap there. Is he going to try and cut the inside of Sunny out? No, he does not. Look at that. Jordan Brennan. Two more corners to go for this, and he will take race 2 victory. Race 1 couldn't quite get the result he wanted. P2 is still a good result nevertheless, but this time out he is going to take checkered flag. Max Edmondson though not too far behind, but look at that, Jordan Brennan, bit of sideways action there for good measure, and he takes race 2 victory for round 1 here at Croft of the VRRC One Make Cup. Max Edmondson coming home in P2. Alex Toth Jones, respectable drive, very good drive indeed for the last spot on the podium. But yeah, look at that, Stableford. James Haskell couldn't quite get back past Dan Zelos. So yeah, Stableford, I mean, to be fair, you cannot argue with the pace that he had. Mick Sutton in P7, Simon Reed P8, and then Lawrence Davey, unfortunately having a bit of a moment going through into Sunny in, and that really dropped him down the order. But a respectable drive from him at the start of this race, definitely something that he can build upon, which is really, really good. I mean, the pace that Stableford had, you can't argue with it, Dave, can you? You cannot argue with that.
The car control and the way he was really pushing that car on, outstanding car control there by Robbie Stableford. Really, really impressive drive. It's not nice to see what happened to him, but you could tell it wasn't malicious, it wasn't meant, but sometimes these things do happen. It happens in real life, and I tell you, when there's serious money on the line and it costs you 10, 20 grand to fix your car, I tell you what, let's just see Jordan Brennan there celebrating with traction control turned off there. Deserving winning there. Really good performance there. I take it his wheel must be working all right there now, Dan, because there doesn't seem to be too much wrong with that.
No, there doesn't, to be fair. No, you can't argue. But yeah, like I said, Jordan Brennan, happy as you would naturally expect. from him there. But yeah, no, great result there. And here are your finishing results official on the screen. Provisional, bear in mind, depending on what happens, because yes, Max Edmondson, something could indeed have happened. Something may happen if the stewards deem that incident that he had with Robbie Stapleford to be a little bit too aggressive. So potentially something could very well change. I've just been told, and we can see in the commentary booth, we do have some drivers to interview for this top 3. So, Dave, I will let you have a chat with the top 3.
Yeah, so we got the interview box, and we've got P3. Brilliant drive there by Max Edmondson, I believe. Is Max Edmondson? Oh, I believe it was actually Alex Toth-Jones in P3. My apologies. I was promoting you to P2 there. Great race from you. You know, it was a relatively, clean and sort of open space in race 1, but race 2, you definitely had to get your elbows out a bit more. It was definitely a race to be had there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Croft's a really tight circuit, and when you reverse the grid, it's always going to be a little bit of mayhem. I managed to get through some of the start antics. I got a little bit of contact at the start through the chicane. It's quite narrow through there, but survived, and then just head down and got going. I feel really bad, to be fair, because I did accidentally turn around Dan in the last corner. He ran a little bit wide and there was a little bit of contact, but I think with
I was going to ask about that, Alex.
Yeah.
We did just about catch the tail end of it, and it all we saw was your headlights and Dan Zelos's tail lights out the hairpin. So I was putting 2 and 2 together, and I didn't know whether Dan maybe got a little bit on the power or there was a slight tap. But I take it these cars, the rear wheel drive, I imagine a lot of the drivers in the grid are running traction control off. It doesn't take much, does it, of a tap at all to really just spin these cars round?
No, not at all. I mean, I do feel for Dan. He went in a little bit deep, and as we got to the exit of the corner, I just tapped him. And then with this game, it seems you can't just tap someone once. It decides it's going to magnetize you to the car, and yeah, it turned it round. So I do feel really bad. I feel I deserve a podium on pace, but yeah, to get there, it was a little bit chaos, especially up front as well. There was a little bit.
You know what, Alex? I would agree with you. I never say a driver deserves a podium, but I definitely think you did earn a podium there. You drove great. It was a good race, and I think you're definitely going to put your stamp on this championship. This rear-wheel drive, sort of slightly looser GT-style car does seem to, really be playing into your strengths.
Yeah, I mean, spent a lot of time on sims driving front-wheel drive stuff, so now the wheels are driven the right side of the car, shall we say?
The true Alex is coming out, is it?
Yeah.
Well, good racing today, and looking forward to seeing what you do in round 2, man.
Cheers, Dev.
And we've got our P2 finisher this time, provisionally Max Edmondson. It was a really good battle there, wasn't it? Until the slight collision. We could see it wasn't malicious. We'll tackle it head on first of all. Wasn't malicious. We saw you try to slow down, but Robbie had spun it, and there was that much time to try and hold back that you had to really just go. But other than that, what a battle you had with Robbie till then, and held the lead for so long.
Yeah, I got quite a good start, to be fair, and then obviously me and Robbie were having a really, really good battle, and then I made stupid mistakes to knock them off. I've apologised to him because I didn't mean to do it, but obviously racing, we'll see if I get penalised for it.
Yeah, to be fair, we saw that. I have to point out, we're witnessing it on stream now. You might want to watch this back after. You move around the outside of him before the chicane. I believe it was maybe lap 6 or something like that. Did you realise that you had that much overspeed to try and get back in front of him through the chicane, or was it just committing around the outside and going, Robbie, I'm going to go for it, you better be expecting it?
Well, yeah, obviously he was defending turn 1, so I just kept it around his outside turn 2, and then just big sends around turn 3, so I just kept it there, and then obviously got the place.
Well, it was phenomenal driving to watch that, Max. It was, probably, I'm going to say, the move of the night. It was on the edge of the seat stuff to watch that happen. And we'll wait and see what happens after the race regarding protests and clear to the course. But provisional P2, can't really complain with tonight's championship haul, and looking forward to seeing what you can bring in round 2.
Yeah, let's get some good points in round 2. Thank you, Dave.
And on to our P1 finisher. I don't know whether there's much wrong with your wheel after that performance, Jordan. We can indeed. You might be on its way out, but I think we can just about get a few words from you.
It was alright, that race. I had quite a bit of damage from 2 cars getting turned across the front of me, which wasn't the best, but
we did witness that coming out the chicane. I thought you were definitely getting speed towards the left-hand barrier at probably about 120 mile an hour. But
yeah, it was a bit scary. But yeah, I just sort of got my head down, sort of closing the gap to Max and Robbie, and then they just started looking together, and I almost lost the back end and put it into the side of Max going past them, but we managed just to miss them. It was a good fun race, that.
Well, it's a really good showing for round 1, and it's going to be an incredibly close championship from what we're looking at. I believe, working out provisional points, you're at the moment winning the overall championship by 1 point over Robbie Stapleford to Max Edmondson on 32 points. So it's an incredibly close championship at the moment, and looking forward to seeing what happens in round 2.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to find a little bit of time over Robbie for round 2, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's see how it ends up. Cheers and cut.
Well, spot on, Jordan, and we'll catch up later on. We'll jump back to Dan in the interview booth.
Indeed, yes, that was your race 2 top 3 there. Great stuff indeed. Like I said, great racing. Like I said, the smaller grid that we have seen, but at the same time, it still really put a great battle on, nevertheless. But that is unfortunately all we have time for. I mean, Dave, I can't wait for round 2. And actually, to be fair, where are we next for round 2? I've had a bit of a mind blank. I can't actually remember.
I believe we are at Thruxton. There we go, on screen there, on point. So, yeah, Thruxton. We go from Croft, which is a notoriously, small, tight track, but relatively quick, to the fastest track in the UK, in a car that, to be fair, if this goes sideways at 140 mile an hour, that's going to be one big snap down.
It is indeed. I like Thruxton. I actually know Thruxton, to be fair, a little bit more than I know Croft. But yeah, it's been great commentating at Croft. A really, really good and a very, very good experience, and one I'm looking forward to commentate in the future. But as I said, unfortunately, we do have to wrap up. Thank you, everyone that has been watching and getting involved and liking the stream and everything. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us as always. If you do want to get involved, please do head to the website, Virtual Reality Racing Club, and their website. Join the Discord server, and you will have all of the information there available to you, and then you can get involved. But until next time, my name is Dan Handover. I've been joined in the commentary box by Mr. Dave Marshall. As a pleasure as always, and as well, we had Mikey out on broadcast, providing us with some fantastic camera angles and keeping us commentating on all of the action this evening. But until next time, we'll see you at Thruxton. Take care.
Woo!